All right, we're going to go ahead and continue here and do another load chart problem. So just like any load chart we do, we're going to figure out what the load chart is asking, what the question is asking. You can't answer a question if you don't know what it's asking, right? So what is the net capacity lifting off the front? All right, well, there's a couple of things it's telling us right there. It's asking us. We're going to go right over here. We're going to write our setup. The question is asking us what is the net capacity. So net cap lifting off the fly and over the front, even though it is irrelevant. Because as we know, anytime we're using a jib, it's always a 360-degree chart. It never changes. So anytime you're using a jib, you only have a 360-degree chart. So let's go ahead and begin here. We're going to draw our diagram. My awesome writing skills here. Let's draw out our diagram. Get everything lined up so that when we're ready to start this problem, then we have everything where it goes. Line pull is 12,920. Then we're going to go ahead and write gross. So whenever we know our gross capacity, then we can put that in there and then deduct our net capacity from it. Then over on the very right, deductions. Oops. Erase that here. Sections, line and line. Then we'll do another line here. TTL. So that's going to be our total. All right. So we have our diagram all set up. So let's go ahead and find out what it's asking. So we're going to hold here. We're going to automatically scroll to your deductions page, or go to your deductions page. I need to delete some stuff here from the last one. All right, so question asking what is the net capacity lifting off the side over the front. So our first piece of information, oops, drop my pen. All right, sorry about that. First piece of information that it's going to give us is our boom mode B, 110 foot. That's what our main boom is. So we check that off. Our boom angle, we have an angle on this one as opposed to a radius. That's going to be 65 degrees. And then in radius, I just put an NA there. We know we don't have one. Perfect. Then the next piece, so we can check that off. We don't have a main boom radius. Check that off. And we don't have, so first piece of information it's given us is the 22-foot fly stowed. So pay attention to the word stowed. That means it's stowed on the side of the boom. It'll come over here on the left side. So that's going to be the 22-foot fly tip stowed on the side of the boom. And it says lifting off the 34-foot fly. Well, we are lifting off the 34-foot fly. So that matches that. Then we're going to come over here. We got our 22-foot fly stowed. That is 300 pounds. So we're going to do 22 stowed. That's 300 pounds. So that's our first deduction. And we're going to come over here. What do we have next? We have our 34-foot extension erect. So I'm just going to write EXT 34 foot. And we're going to write a 0 here because that's what we're picking from. We know we're picking over the front with the fly. So the fly erect is the 34 foot. So we just automatically put that in there because we know that we're picking from the fly. It just helps us notate that fly is erect and what one we're picking from, so to help us find the load chart later on. And you write it, the more you write it down, the more you're going to remember it. So we're done with that one. Next one's going to be our 15-degree offset. So then right underneath, angle, GLE, 15 degrees. And then we can just put another 0 there, because obviously an angle is just an angle. It doesn't affect the weight in any shape or form. We don't have a block. We don't need to worry about putting that in there, but we do have a ball. Our ball is the 8.5 ton ball. So that's going to be right here. And that weighs 360 pounds. Perfect, we're done with that. Check that one off. And our rigging is 175 pounds. There, check it off. Main rope, we're not going to have a main rope, so we can automatically just check that off because we don't have a block, and in order to have a main rope deduction, you'd have to have a block. Perfect, so I think we've got all of our deductions down, so we should have one deduction for the jib stowed. We should have two deductions. So we got the jib stowed, one deduction there. Two deductions for number 2 deduction would be our ball. And number 3 deduction would be our rigging. And our rigging is not going to be found in our load chart booklet over on the left. That's only going to be notated in the load chart problem that they give us. So let's add those numbers together. We've got, let's see, 300 plus 360 plus 175 equals 835 pounds. 835 pounds of deduction. So we can safely do that and not have to worry about our tip height for this one, because we know we don't have a main line deduction. So the only reason we would be using the main line deduction is if we had a main line and we were picking from the main boom and it tipped to ground, then we need to find our tip height. Then we would go to our range diagram, find our tip height, and subtract any excess reeving that might be to make that pick tip to ground. So we would add that to our dead weight or our hanging weight. But since we're picking from the whip line, we're using one part line. There's no main block. We don't have any line capacity deductions because you need one part of line to make any pick regardless, which is what we're doing with the single part of line picking from the jib. And we don't have a main block, so there's not going to be any line deduction there. So we can just put a big fat X up there at tip. And we can scroll over here on our left and bypass our range diagram. We don't need any of this for this problem because we're using a single part of line. We're not going to have a line deduction, so we don't need to find our tip height. Let's go on past that. So let's find out what we're looking for, picking from the 34-foot fly over the front. So let's go over here and find, we got 110 foot of main boom. So we're going to scroll down here to this 95 foot. It's the 34 foot with 85 foot of main boom. We're looking for the 110 foot. So fully erect main boom with the 34 foot fly. And this is our problem right here. 34 foot offset fly, 110 foot of main boom. That's the chart that we're looking for. So we're going to scroll down here and look at what's it asking. So 110 foot of main boom. Obviously that's right there. And we've got a 34 foot fly. What is our angle? 15-degree angle offset. So offset's right there. Picking over the front, it doesn't matter because it's always going to be a 360-degree chart. So we're going to find our boom angle of 65 degrees. So let's zoom in here a little bit. So working in this column right here. So we have 65. So here's 65. That gives us a gross capacity. Remember, gross capacity is a hard number in the chart of 6,500 pounds. Just double check here. Perfect. Now we need to take our deductions from that 6,500 pounds. Deductions equal 835 pounds. So once we take 835 pounds and deduct that from 6,500, we are left with the answer of a net capacity of 5,665 pounds. And that is our answer. Let's see if we've got it up here. Boom. Right there. So that'll be it for that load chart. Let's move on to the next.